Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I just want to give a quick disclaimer on the contents of this video. It could be very sensitive for some to hear and watch. I just want to reiterate that this is genuinely something that I am passionate about, that I feel that there needs to be more discussions concerning bullying and the implications that it could also cause in adulthood. I feel that as an educator for students during this life stage, I feel that it is very crucial for these students to feel understood and seen, and as well as us adults to be able to understand what type of implications that it may cause for us as we possibly may or may not have been bullied ourselves. However, just as one final quick warning before the video starts, I just want to go over the quick overview of the subjects that will be discussed in this video as a whole. So that way, whenever someone gets towards the middle of the video and there's something that they feel is too much for them, that they were warned ahead of time. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going to be discussed. So the first thing that I will be discussing is exactly what age range is middle childhood, and why is socialization so important all of a sudden, and why and how bullying can exactly impact that life stage. There's also this idea of needing to know what bullying looks like and the effects that can cause in a child in the present moment and further on in life. There are different types of bullying that I will be discussing, such as cyberbullying, being excluded, etc. There are very dangerous implications that could happen if the bullying is not treated and that child is not given intervention and they don't speak up. Unfortunately, sometimes that is the case. So, at the end of the video, I will be discussing how we as adults can help advocate for these children and help them feel understood and seen to the point where they feel comfortable enough to speak about this difficult subject. Alright, so what exactly is middle childhood and why is socialization so important during this time period? People have different definitions of when middle childhood starts, but generally speaking, people can agree between the ages of it starting at ages 6 to 8 and ending at 12. People usually say around 6 years old this starts because that's whenever children generally start school, and it ends at 12 because generally speaking, that is right before adolescence begins at the age of 13. There are different stages going on during this time period of middle childhood, one of them being Erik Erikson's psychosocial stage of development of industry versus inferiority. Why is this important exactly, may you ask? So, during middle childhood, there is this focus of looking upon our peers to help gauge our confidence. And if we feel that we don't measure up in this life stage socially, then we can start having feelings of insecurity, of inferiority. However, there needs to be this sort of balance within this time period of this frame of knowing that children are indeed looking towards their peers for affirmation. Next, we have Sigmund Freud's latency period. This is known as the calm before the storm, meaning that during this time period of less reliance on parents, children often look towards their peers, as mentioned before, so this leads to a period of there being a sort of isolation in a sense, but not exactly as much as later in life in our early 20s. However, the most important thing to realize during this stage is that there's a shift in family dynamics of there being more of a focus on peers. I just wanted to go over this quick definition of what bullying is and what it looks like in middle childhood. Peer victimization is the experience of physical or psychological harm caused by peers acting outside of the norms of appropriate conduct. In contrast, peer rejection is defined as the group's dislike of an individual. Even though peer victimization and rejection are operationalized differently, They share the perpetrator's intent to cause harm and an imbalance of power between perpetrator and victim, meaning that there are different aspects of bullying when it comes to middle childhood. This specific study that was done was focused solely on middle childhood to help understand more of the implications of what it's like for children in this age range. On the next slide, we'll talk more about what specific types of bullying are common as well. There are many different situations, many different people, and also just in general a plethora of examples of what can happen as an example of bullying in middle childhood. Something that is becoming more and more increasingly common with the rise of technology is something known as cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is this idea that bullying can happen outside of a specific social setting and rather behind a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer. Oftentimes people decide to bully others on the internet because they have the security of being behind a screen instead of having to say it face to face to the person. Many children may experience this in middle childhood and go to school feeling lonely, feeling left out, and many other things because of this isolation that they are feeling on the internet and the hurt comments that they may receive. Also, whenever in school or in any other social studies, such as a party, children can also be excluded from their peers to made feel weird or an outcast, even though everyone has their own individual and unique personalities. Examples of bullying also include verbal bullying, such as name-calling, harassment, teasing, etc. Physical bullying is also an aspect that could also occur, such as hitting, kicking, shoving, tripping, spitting, etc. This is usually more common around boys, and verbal bullying is usually more common for girls. There is also the idea that there can be humiliation by an adult of authority towards children in middle childhood. For example, it is known that bullies tend to be victimized at home, whether through a parent, a family member, or other person. And then usually they end up taking it out on someone who's an easier target to be victimized from. This is by no means an easy manner to think about or to speak about. However, hopefully through time, through speaking about this difficult subject, we can all come together and decide further and better implications and interventions for children in middle childhood to prevent further hurts as they get older. I'm just going to read this quick definition of effects of bullying. Negative mental health outcomes of victimization and bullying in middle childhood include anxiety, depression, loneliness, and low self-esteem. Other outcomes include increased health problems and reduced engagement with education and academic achievement. Although not all research can determine the direction of causation, there is evidence that the effects of childhood bullying can last through adulthood. Many people often end up abusing drugs and alcohol as a means to deal with mental health issues, which can lead to further issues down the line. Furthermore, these negative outcomes can themselves predict future victimization, which may lead to a cycle of poor outcomes. Just like how I mentioned before, when we are in this social stage of development of industry versus inferiority, our self-esteem is very malleable and very sensitive during this time frame, and if we are not given the proper treatment of our self-esteem, it could lead to these unfortunate sort of mental health issues, alcoholism, drug abuse as an adult, and that is why I feel that we as adults should be able to step up and help these children through these difficult situations. What can we do as adults, and why is it so important that we pay extra close attention to children in this age range of middle childhood to prevent further implications starting from adolescence all the way to adulthood. Number 1. Pay attention to signs of different behavior compared to what is normal for the specific child. For instance, if you have a student in your classroom that is normally very bubbly and excited to go to school, who out of a sudden just seems very withdrawn and very depressed, take a moment to go on to step 2. Don't be afraid to ask them if something is wrong and if there is something they need to share whenever they are ready. The number one mistake that we as adults can often make when it comes to dealing with bullying during this life stage of middle childhood is that we may often put pressure on the child to say what it is that is going on, when at times they fully may not even understand themselves that they're being bullied, or how to even say what they want to say. They may feel embarrassed, they may feel isolated, but ultimately we must remember point number 3, which is be a supportive member on their team. We as adults have so much more power and influence that we could speak over children in this life stage. During this life stage of middle childhood, children are looking for affirmation. They are looking for acceptance. They are looking for a boost in their self-esteem. And if they aren't given the safe space to feel that they can speak about what they need to, then they won't, and they'll keep it to themselves, which is important because we want to make sure that they are able to excel in all aspects of life, not just in education, but their mental health, their physical health, their social health. We want to raise healthy adults for the future. They are the future. So we must keep in mind that although it may not seem like a big deal to us, of the small little things that may bother children in middle childhood, we must understand that they too also have feelings, and we must take that into consideration when it comes to dealing with situations of bullying. So this is the final slide for the presentation for this assignment. I hope that whenever you get the chance that you could check out these references, because they go much further into detail of what exactly bullying can do in middle childhood and the effects that it can have on adolescents, adults, etc. I apologize if any of you have ever experienced any sort of bullying during your middle childhood, or even if you were the bully because you went through certain things yourself that you could not speak of. I genuinely feel that bullying needs to be spoken more of in a more vulnerable way, and I hope that if there's any questions that I can answer for you, that you can feel free to ask them. And other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and I hope that you were able to learn some things from this video. Thank you.